Welcome to Warrior Commission Now, where we talk about practical ways to live your commission in God day to day, moment by moment, week by week.
Yes.
And really, it's so fun to have these conversations with you and with us. We're starting to bring other voices into this process as well.
Yes.
Because we feel like there's so many treasures that we want to share through these conversations. So we invite you to our table as we sit around the table and talk about different things. And today, Sharon and I'm Christine Caston, and this is Sharon Rudolph. Sharon and I are going to kind of continue a little bit a talk that we've already shared before called Finding Relational Culture, but this one's really about building a relational culture. So this one's a little bit more focused on what is the intentionality that we have, or the passion and kind of the reset or the default that we have in the process of trying to see relationships flourish in any type of culture. Now, TWC, the Warrior Commission, is a virtual community. So we have people from all over the world. We typically meet in a video format or a platform. And so we're not always face-to-face. We do have a few opportunities for that, but basically most of our time is not spent face-to-face. So our challenge was, how do you build a relational culture when you don't have that luxury, if you will? And so as we have gone through the process of really thinking through that, there are some key areas that we have discovered that are important. So Sharon, maybe you can kind of kick us off with starting to talk about one of those areas where we're finding really help contribute to building a relational culture.
Well, our culture, part of our values and principles, and we live from our values, not a bunch of rules. We live from values, and it's about having a culture of encouragement and honor. Mm-hmm. That we're going to encourage and honor people. Yeah. It's not about control. It's not about fixing. It's not about making things look a certain way.
Yeah.
It's like, what is God up to? and what is the treasure in that person? And how did he design them and create them? Mm-hmm. One of the aspects of our community is we help people connect with God to explore their own identity. Mm-hmm. How did God wire us from the beginning? He is the creator. He's got a good plan.
Yeah.
Who am I in God? And what's possible? So our culture of relationship is to encourage that and honor that, not just make people fit. And most cultures, the goal is to get people who want to be a part of what you're doing to look like you. Mm-hmm. That's not how God does things.
We don't want a lot of me's running around.
No, that wouldn't necessarily be best. So Christine, what have you learned in your walk with God about how does the kingdom do things in terms of building culture?
Yeah, I think one thing is being okay with process, because process is not always, you can't always know what to expect in people's processes. There are different aspects that you're going to see them hit, different obstacles, barriers, internal, past experiences that were negative for them, things like that you're always going to find, that different people have had, especially if they've lived life at all. You kind of have to be willing as a leader to say, I'm going to already assume that they fit. Like you already have a fit here. You already are a part of this. We believe, God, if you feel connected to the Warrior Commission and you connect to our values and our principles, our kingdom assignments, then there's probably a reason that God has brought you into that connection, right? So there's already something that fits in who you are, and so we're assuming you already fit. Most people come in saying, how am I going to fit? And we say, well, what if you already do?
Right.
And so then it's not about finding a fit or someone having to adjust and perform to a certain way of being to be accepted. It becomes more about heart-to-heart connections and it's about seeing and knowing others. It's what value are you bringing to our table, because you have value, and
Yes.
we know that we need the value that you are and what you bring and the treasures that you carry. So our job, if you will, is to love you and
Yes.
also help draw out those treasures so that you yourself see them,
Yes.
and you understand your value, because most people don't know their value.
Right.
Most people have been told that they aren't valuable. And so what we're doing is the opposite, is we're assuming you have value and we're looking and we're saying, how can we draw that out? And so I think that's part of creating a culture of honor and encouragement, is that you're always looking for how you encourage someone
Yes.
to see the truth of who they really are, the
Yes.
positive truth of who they
Yes.
are, not the negative things that maybe are holding them back or have bound them,
Right. Right.
false identity.
Right. And in this culture of encouragement and honor, if that negative comes to the surface, we're excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because what that means is it's time for God to take you to a new place, help you have a different mindset, help you reframe. So in leadership, our goal is to partner with God in the reframing, in the making the adjustments to see each life the way God sees it, instead of what the world is telling you you are. And it's kind of interesting. A lot of people, well, my church history, emotions were seen as negative. You don't want to be hyper emotional, or you don't want to let your emotions drive your life, that sort of thing. And what I found about emotions is what we have strong emotions about is really tied to our identity and who we are. But it's being in a community where who you are, how you react to things, and your perspective isn't condemned, it's explored. What does God want you to know about that? And I love having conversations with people and helping them, whether it's on a training call, whether it's in one of our Connexus hubs. We love to help people explore, what is God saying with this? And how do we partner with him? And the other call we did on finding relational community, it's about being with other people that like having those conversations. And it's the process. Process sometimes gets messy, but that's okay. I love to cook, and some of my most favorite things to make the kitchen the biggest mess.
Of course.
but that's okay, because you get this amazing meal, and you also usually get some good relationship around a table. But the mess isn't the problem. The mess isn't a problem in the process of getting to the good thing. Right. And in leading a relationally based culture, you have to not be afraid of making a mess or having a mess to get to the good stuff God has.
Right. And the thing is it's not about being driven by emotion. It's not about what feels right or feels wrong or, that kind of thing. It's actually about learning to recognize, these are the emotions I have. These are the motivations behind those emotions, and if those are there, what is that? Is that a positive thing? Is that something that's in alignment with God? Is that in the truth of who you are in your identity in Christ as he's created you? Or is that an emotion that's been triggered by something that was a wound or a hurt or a bad experience that you've had? And if that's the case, then what does God want to do to heal that place? Right. And so it's moving into maybe a little bit of an assessment of what's the root of this situation or this emotion. And so God created us to be emotional. So we can't be afraid of emotions. Right. But being emotional doesn't mean we're ranting and raving. It doesn't mean that we're bawling every time that, the call comes on. I mean, it doesn't, it's not a free for all.
Right.
Intentionality toward recognizing, okay, I'm having this emotion right now. And this is not a positive emotion. I'm wanting to pull back. I'm wanting to run away. I'm running. Why? Years ago, I realized XYZ happened in my life, and someone said something that reminded me of that, in their conversation, in their story and journey. something they said reminded me of my own experience in that. And so now God's brought that to the surface. And the question is, okay, he's brought it to the surface, so he's putting his finger on it. Isn't
Right.
that incredible? Because that's something he wants to do to bring you into wholeness and fullness in that place that maybe you haven't had before.
Yes. And in the Warrior Commission, we have training.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not about learning information. It's about process with God, deepening your relationship with the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
So in these things, you really do have a comforter, you have a teacher, you have a helper as you walk in life. Our training, we have foundational training that helps you in your own life and in your own walk with God become your best self. And as leaders, we partner with God and the training and the different tools we have in our community
Mm-hmm.
to help you explore your own treasure,
Mm-hmm.
to help you explore with God how he wired you and who he made you to be. And since we are the Warrior Commission, it's what might your commission be moving forward the more you learn about how to partner with God and simply be who you are with your treasure.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of what our commissions are based around the things that we've overcome.
Yes.
And so part of the process of the training and the interaction with people, part of our joy is that we start seeing and facilitating, if we're doing this as building a culture from that perspective, part
Yes.
of what we're doing as leaders is we're facilitating the space and the grace for people to recognize the places that they get to overcome. Because
yes.
it's very likely that if we can encourage that process in their lives and not shut it down, that what we'll actually find is that becomes the area where they're going to champion others.
Right.
And that's an amazing thing to see, is when we see that breakthrough, and then we make space for them to practice that breakthrough. What is that safe place for them to practice their breakthrough? So we're creating a culture of encouragement and a culture of grace, a culture of permission, and we're also embracing process. But in the way we embrace process, we're creating a safe space for others to be able to grow and develop and to be heard and seen.
Yes. First Thessalonians 5, verse 11, therefore, encourage one another and build one another up.
Mm-hmm.
So building relational culture is just part of what Jesus created us to do. And we love doing it.
Yes, we do. And it's fun because it's kind of like you said, the meal is worth the mess.
Yes.
The time to be able to, it's a beautiful mess, really.
It is.
And it's not a bad thing. And it's not something, I think we had to learn that we can't control process.
Right.
And our part as leaders is to align with God's heart for that person and speak that into their life. And to be that constant, if you will, constant reminder of that this is how God loves you. And
Yes.
this is who you are. And
Yes.
this is what God said about how amazing you are. And this is because people don't believe. They don't believe that,
No.
and you can't make someone believe, but in encouraging them and speaking it over them, their spirit hears truth and their spirit resonates with what God says about who they are. And,
Yes.
and as you speak those things over people, their spirit hears it. And as their spirit becomes stronger, and for us, that's through our training, through our conversations, our training calls and things like that, as their spirit becomes stronger in standing, and being brought forward and free will chooses to say, I want to align my spirit behind God and everything else in me behind that. Then
Yes.
all of a sudden there's an alignment that occurs, and you start seeing people of confidence and strength, the sons and daughters of God, rising up into the fullness of who they are and can be for the season.
Yes.
And of course, it's a continual process. It's not like a destination.
No.
We all are continually on that journey because there's always more of God's heart to understand, embrace, and capture have embedded in us, so that as we move forward, we carry more of his glory to spread it to the ends of the earth.
Yes. And we link arms.
Yeah.
We walk side by side and we link arms.
Mm-hmm.
And there's an amazing thing God does with relational community.
Mm-hmm.
And with having a relational culture. Mm-hmm. So it's worth the effort.
Yeah.
It's worth the effort. But it's also tons of fun because we are linked arms. We are a band of brothers who partner together for God's best in each individual life.
Mm-hmm. Which means it's not all up to me
No.
as a leader, or up to you. And we get to share the process and the journey with everyone. You know, and we get to encourage through everyone. So if we're all, if you're building a culture of encouragement and honor, everyone in the culture honors and encourages each other.
Yes.
So it becomes less of a burden, if you will, as a leader to have to be the one who carries the load, because no longer, it's not about that. It's about everyone rising together and everyone having a chance to encourage and honor the value of each person and the voice of each person.
Yes.
Truth of identity in each person, and speak to the heart of each person. So
whoa,
it actually makes it a little bit easier.
and you know what that sounds like?
What?
That sounds like what Jesus did.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. Well, we want to thank you guys for joining us today, and in our discussion and exploration of building a relational culture. And if you're interested in checking out the Warrior Commission, what we do and how we do it, our website is thewarriorcommission.com. And we post these videos, these chats that we have on YouTube, on Warrior Commission Now, which is our channel, on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Mm-hmm. And you can hear more about our culture of honor and how to walk with Jesus, because we get to link arms with him too, and live out our commissions in our day-to-day. So thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, guys. Y'all have a good one.